Good morning. Welcome to Second Unitarian Church. I'm Carla Tebby, a member of the Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she and her. Today we're in person at the Admiral at the Lake, the 2U Sanctuary, and continuing to meet virtually via Zoom. We ask for everyone's patience as we navigate the complications of a three-part service. We're glad you're here, whichever way you're attending. If you're in the sanctuary and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available. Please see our tech team in the back. We're currently seeing both a national and global surge in COVID numbers. We encourage people to wear masks during the service. This practice prevents transmission of the virus and helps us center the needs of those who are most vulnerable. We especially welcome newcomers this morning. Finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new to us today, please note that in the Zoom chat or mention it in person during conversation after the service. If you would like, there are blue mugs you can use during coffee hour, and that will signal to others that you would like them to come up and say hello. We also always need help in the kitchen during coffee hour, so that's a great place to see old friends and make new friends. Our worship today is led by Reverend Jason Lydon, along with Jim Simonis as worship associate. Music is provided by the 2U Choir, the 2U Band, and Atina Danner, and our Director of Music, Carl Kennedy. Our time together requires a large group of people who make possible the worship, the music, and the technical production. They're listed in the order of service, and we thank them for their ongoing service to our congregation. I have a couple of announcements for you this morning. Following service today, we have two gatherings going on. First, Joy Messenger will host a teach-in about the Stop Cop City campaign. Last Sunday, you found a copy of the Action of Immediate Witness in your order of service. This AIW was written by Joy and presented to the General Assembly by Reverend Jason. Please come back into the sanctuary after coffee hour for the teach-in. Additionally, following service, the membership committee is hosting the second new member orientation class. This will focus on our individual spiritual journeys, as well as history of Unitarian Universalism. If you've been coming to church for a few weeks or more and you're considering membership, we would love to have you. We now have a live announcement from Gail Gallagher about the upcoming Fall Fest, and after the announcement, I welcome Jim Simonis to lead us in our call to worship.
Hello. It's almost time to step through the looking glass into all of us in Wonderland. That's 2U's in Wonderland, it's a thing. 2U's annual Fall Fest fundraiser and talent review with musicians and performers from the 2U community, a paddle race, dinner and cocktails, children's programming, and more on Saturday, October 28th. This is a costume party, so come dressed in your whimsical best, whether you're drawn to a character from Alice in Wonderland or someone or something that showcases the positive change you wish to see in the world. Of course, your authentic, beautiful self is always welcome in Wonderland. We will be gathering in person here at 2U, but we'll also be Zooming our event with a trivia game and scavenger hunt where you can win prizes and raffle tickets. For our Admiral folks, Laura is there today with a sign-up sheet for anyone interested in gathering for the event. Please note we will need at least 8 in attendance to hold a gathering at the Admiral. So please sign up with Laura today if you're interested. Tickets are $35 in advance and can be purchased on our website. Just go to the homepage, click on the All of Us in Wonderland feature, and follow the prompts on that page. Please don't let ticket costs deter you. There are discounted tickets and even free tickets available. To make this event a success, we need all the help we can get painting the roses red. Got a dessert fit for a mad tea party? Please see either Mary Helen Steidler or Kate Friedlob, or sign up online. We're also looking for curious items and experiences to be donated to our silent auction. Some of those that we have right now include crochet lessons and a custom song by this Gail Gallagher person. There are links on our website to donate to the donation forms, as well as a list of ideas to get you inspired. The Queen of Hearts decrees the submission deadline is October 15th, so get those donations in now. The silent auction will be open very soon, so please stay tuned for that announcement. Speaking of the silent auction, we will be using the same text-to-bid software we've used in previous years, but if you'd like more information on how to use it, please see me or Brandon after the service in the Palmer Room. We'll be set up at the table to the right where you'll be able to purchase tickets, sign up to volunteer, and more. Thank you.
Our call to worship. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific things that we believe, but by the values we share. Whether you are joining us for the first time or for the thousandth time, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. I invite you, when you feel ready, to take a breath in and out. As the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
Good morning. Our introit today comes from the songwriter and activist Sarah Thompson. She writes, "This song is inspired by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and all the tribes, nations, native and non-native people coming together to protect the land and water threatened by the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. The song came to me on my return from Standing Rock. That morning, before leaving, a meadowlark was singing right outside my tent. Be the lark from the meadow, be a lark from the meadow, heard in song. We too can be the we too can be the larks from the meadow. We too can sing in the new day." The chorus to the song includes the phrase "Minni Wachoni," which in Lakota just means water is life.
what a joy. In just a moment, Ryan here in the sanctuary and Harris at the Admiral will light our chalices, the symbol of our faith. And we light our chalices this morning with these words from the Reverend Julian Soto. The chalice is a reminder that the flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. And so may we all remember to fill up our cup and let it spill over with the light of love, the light of truth, and the light of compassion.
I invite you to rise in body and spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 121, We'll Build a Lake. Free.
Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people.
Skipping ahead just a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that.
There we go.
Thank you.
Right there.
We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, wholly faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by a living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within the vision of the eternal, living out our inner conditions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Please remain standing as we sing our congregational hymn, number 123, Spirit of Love.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to invite up the children and children at heart to the chancel. Few children today. If anyone wants to come up. Okay, no rush. Take your time. Good morning, Malachi. Good morning, Zella. All right. So this month, in October, we are talking a lot about heritage. Now, a really important part of heritage for many of us and our families is food. And I know that one type of food that's really important to my family's heritage is called spätzle, which is a really delicious, thick pasta. It's a recipe that my grandmother brought over from Germany, and she and my mom make it really well, and I love it. So I encourage you, children, to think a little bit about what types of food might be important to your heritage and maybe talk to your family about it later. Yeah, do you have one to share right now, Zella? Challah, that's such a perfect example. Thank you. So challah is an important part of your family's Jewish heritage. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Any others that come to mind right away? You can think about it and talk with your families about it later, maybe when you're having dinner together. So today, since tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, I'm going to read you a story about a type of food called fry bread, which is delicious, and it's an important part of some, but not all, Indigenous peoples' heritage. I'm gonna stay standing up here because my ability to hold a microphone while turning pages has proven really questionable, but I'm gonna make sure that I hold it so you can see the pictures. Fry bread. A Native American family story. Fry bread is food. Flour, salt, water, cornmeal, baking powder, perhaps milk, maybe sugar, all mixed together in a big bowl. Fry bread is shape. Hands mold the dough, flat like a pancake, round like a ball, or puffy like Nana's softest pillow. Fry bread is sound. The skillet clangs on the stove, the fire blazes from below. Drop the dough in the skillet, the bubbles sizzle and pop. Fry bread is color. Golden brown, tan, or yellow. Deep like coffee, sienna, or earth. Light like snow and cream. Warm like rays of sun. Fry bread is flavor. See beans or soup, smell tacos, cheese, and vegetables, delight in honey and jam, rise to discover what brings us together. Fry bread is time. On weekdays and holidays, supper or dinner, powwows and festivals, moments together with family and friends. Fry bread is art. Sculpture, landscape, portrait, our daily craft, shared from teacher to student, a cycle of heritage and fortune. Fry bread is history, the long walk, the stolen land, strangers in our world with unknown food. We made new recipes from what we had. Fry bread is place. Alaska, Kansas, all the way to Maine, down to Delaware, on to Georgia, over to Oklahoma, Colorado, and California, cities and lands we call home. Fry bread is nation. Abenaki, Apache, Arapaho, Ojibwe, Onondaga, Oglala, Sioux, Narragansett, Navajo, Nipmuc, Seminole, Shoshone, Sac, and Fox. Hundreds and hundreds of tribes. Fry bread is everything. Round, flat, large, small, north, south, east, west, brown, yellow, black, white, familiar and foreign, old and new, we come together. Fry bread is us. We are still here. Elder and young, friend and neighbor. We strengthen each other to learn, change, and survive. Fry bread is you. All right, my friends, and with that, let's go ahead and sing the children to their classes.
Each year, we all make a pledge, a commitment to support the ministry of this, our beloved church. In addition to this pledge that we make, we take a collection each Sunday so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. While we are not currently passing the plate around, you can make your contributions using the phone number that is in your order of service and that will shortly be up on the screen. For the month of October, we are continuing to share our plate with the Midwest Access Coalition, and we have some words from Scout.
Hi, everyone. Is that all right? Oh, wow. Hi, my name is Scout. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a board member of the Midwest Access Coalition. Thank you all for your generous support, not just this year, but throughout many years. So for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to read the extensive and very helpful information in your packets, the Midwest Access Coalition was established in 2014 in response to seeing a variety of different border states and states throughout the Midwest without access to abortion care. Even in Missouri, before Roe v. Wade was overturned and the Dobbs decision, there was no abortion care provider in Missouri. Since Roe v. Wade was overturned, we have seen an extreme influx of individuals who are seeking abortion come to the state of Illinois, which is still providing access to abortion. And your support today ensures that we're able to continue to support people from across the United States. While Midwest Access Coalition was first established focusing on the Midwest, we have seen increasing numbers from outside the Midwest numbers of abortion seekers traveling to our state for access. The support that you have provided to Midwest Access Coalition helps with what is called practical support. So that includes accommodations, travel, food, and childcare for those who are coming to seek abortions. And most importantly, we know that those numbers are only ever increasing. As Midwest Access Coalition seeks to increase its staff, your support is incredibly helpful and necessary in order to ensure reproductive justice is a continual effort from both our communities. Your service focusing on colonization from colonization to decolonization is also directly relevant to reproductive justice. The reclaiming of lands, reclaiming of bodies is directly aligned with Midwest Access Coalition to ensure all people get access to safe, affordable, affirming abortion care. So thank you all for your time. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Midwest Access Coalition if you have any questions or want to get more involved. We also have free Plan B available and absolutely want to make that widely accessible. Thank you again and happy Sunday.
Now, I invite you to join me in reading our offertory words. The words are printed in your order of service and are on the screen. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
I now invite you, wherever it is that you are, to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Let's begin by breathing together. Try relaxing the muscles in your shoulders. Release the tension in your neck. Unclench your beautiful jaw. And breathe into this space. Loving Divine, we begin in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty, we are with you. Pray for all those living in harm's way. Pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. As war rages around the world, including in a land called holy by many, we pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are truly blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. Into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you to speak aloud the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of our community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen, and blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles for joys and concerns, we want to continue to maintain our safety with each other. So in the two sanctuary, in a moment, you will be invited to come forward and light a candle. As you end your time of contemplation and candle lighting, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those of us at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward and take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly in your hand, putting your energy into the stone, and then knowing your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. For those of us on Zoom, please join by sharing your joys and concerns in our chat window, and I will light a single candle here to represent your celebrations and sorrows. All of these are shared joys, celebrations, concerns, and sorrows close to our hearts. Jim, would you share our first reading, please?
Our first reading this morning is from the article, What Decolonization Is and What It Means to Me, by Tina Curiel Allen. Decolonization is about reclaiming what was taken and honoring and what we still have. This takes conscious work and effort. This is value in actively speaking what was lost, in remembering what was forgotten. Values matter to us as individuals and as community. Many of our parents and grandparents would bless us as we were leaving their homes. We honor that and our connections to new family members through building community. We respect and take care of each other. Before capitalism, we literally needed each other and the earth to survive. We have not forgotten that. We honor the sacred in everyone and know that no matter what others might say, no one makes it alone. We still live with the trauma of what colonization did to us. We are trying to heal, to make things better for future generations so they can carry a little less of the burden. We do this work not only for ourselves, but for the future, for the burden. We do this work together so that for the next generations to come. This means that we are always aware of our words, intentions, actions, and prayers, and how they affect not only us, but future generations to come. Our plan is to leave things better than when we got here.
Thanks, Jim. Our second reading this morning is a video of a two-spirit young person performing a traditional hoop dance. Listen to their words and embrace the beauty of their movement.
It's decolonizing things that were placed upon indigenous people in the way that this dance means that you can use your body and celebrate who you are, how your spirit wants to move. The idea is that all of these spirits are sort of presented in each person, that you're not necessarily switching from one gender to the next, but you're transcending gender. The hoop dance represents the interconnectedness of all people, how two spirits, as well as like other folks in the indigenous community, as well as people just in life of the red, the white, the yellow, the black, no matter who you are intertwined and interconnected. Not just people, but our two-legged, our four-legged, our winged, our rooted, the sun, the moon, the stars, how we're all connected together, and that at this day and age, that two spirits also have a space in that. I dance especially for our two-spirit youth so that they can feel reaffirmed and that they will have the medicine and the power to claim who they are and not hide. So when I do these dances, it's a form of a prayer in motion, and that's something I want to give back to the world.
Let us hear our anthem. Choir, band, Hatina, thank you. I have a fraught relationship with the opening hymn we sang this morning. The tune is so beautiful. As Carl said during our preparation for the service today, Carolyn McDade can really write a hymn. And I can remember quite well being a young person in the congregation I grew up in, singing this song loudly on Sunday mornings. The song is designed to be sung out and with profound love. The words, many of them are beautiful and offer an imagination of a land that I like to believe in. Much of the theology that I understood, especially as a young person, resonated with me. Building a land where captives go free continues to be my dream as an abolitionist. As I understood pastoral care more, and I struggled with my own self-esteem as a young person, I loved the words that call us to bring good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn. I needed to feel it was possible to live somewhere that was free from bullying and was open to the fullness of who I was, who I am. The older I got, the more connected I became to movements for justice. I loved the idea that we could build a land of bold people who learned from the devastations of the past. And I recognized the words of justice rolling down like waters and peace like an everlasting stream. And like many people, I remembered hearing these words when I was reading Dr. King. That said, having spent quite a bit of time at Christian summer camp, I also knew that these words came from the Hebrew Bible. My love for the song was challenged as I got involved in anti-racism work within our faith community. The Reverend Ian White Marr, who delivered some words at my ordination, preached a sermon at the Unitarian Universalist Association about the harms the song perpetuated. As he introduced the song, he made it clear for all of us that the words are certainly and necessarily biblical, almost exactly quoted from the prophets Isaiah and Amos. This fact might be somewhat surprising to Unitarian Universalists, as we don't spend a whole lot of time studying biblical texts together. But knowing the context of this song, knowing where the lyrics come from, this is essential to understanding why it might be problematic. The prophet Isaiah prophesied to the Israelites in the kingdom of Judah between 700 BC and the late 600s BC. He was preaching to and teaching a people who had colonized the land of Canaan, as the story goes. He was constantly chastising the Israelite people for not fulfilling their call to serve God and build up a new land that was righteous and just. At no point does he discuss the needs to be just to the Canaanite people. The prophet Amos prophesied to the Israelite people as well, but he was in the kingdom of Israel. Amos preached and taught a little bit earlier than Isaiah, and his impact was less powerful upon the community than Isaiah's was, and he is considered one of the minor prophets in the Bible. But his commentary on the Israelites' need to fulfill God's will was profound. He focused almost entirely on the division between those with many resources and those without any. I have some of his words tattooed on my side: to do justice, love mercy, walk humbly. But like Isaiah, Amos never addressed the treatment of the Canaanite people. There was an assumption that the Israelites were entitled to the land and that they were responsible for creating a just land based on their own theological imperatives, forgetting the peoples whose land they had taken. So when we sing, "We'll build a land," what are we saying? What are we saying to those whose land we are building upon? Reverend Ian White Marr propositioned that if we are to challenge settler colonialism within our faith, it may be time to retire this song. And when I tell you that I struggle with that call, I cannot overstate the challenge it's been for my spiritual self. This Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, I wonder if we can wrestle together with what it means to move from colonization to decolonization. How do we get there? What does it mean? How is our faith implicated in the creation of this settler nation? It's important for all of us to remember that the colonization of the United States was always a Christian project. Remember that the royalty of Europe were all commissioned by God, as they thought, to rule the lands they had control over. Their understanding of Christianity taught them that they were righteous in their efforts to take land from those who were considered heathens, pagans, Satan's people. In particular, the doctrine of discovery, declared by Pope Nicholas V, stated that the Kingdom of Portugal was given divine authority to, quote, subjugate the Saracens and the pagans and any other unbelievers and enemies of Christ. He continues, and to reduce their persons to perpetual servitude, to take their belongings, including land, to convert them to Portugal and your use and your successors. Keep in mind that the Pope had enormous political power. Over the decades, Pope after Pope designated land in the so-called New World to different kingdoms who would be allowed to forward Christian hegemony and impose slavery and subjugation upon indigenous peoples. Many Christians and others have repudiated the doctrine of discovery. Many highlight the failures of early Christian theology to act with justice and follow the teachings of Jesus. Dr. Larry Ward writes, the doctrine of discovery established a spiritual, political, and legal justification for the colonization and seizure of lands not inhabited by Christians. That definition released soldiers, ministers, missionaries, and merchants across the world to colonize others, imagining this as the fulfillment of life's glory. What makes this a religious scandal is that it is a lie about the sacred nature of a human being. It denies the reverence of life at the heart of all religions, that the divine is embodied in all humans, including those that do not look like me. We, as Unitarian Universalists, have also repudiated the doctrine of discovery. At General Assembly in 2012, our people passed a resolution that included the following text. We, the delegates of the 2012 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, repudiate the doctrine of discovery as a relic of colonialism, feudalism, and religious, cultural, and racial biases that have no place in the modern-day treatment of indigenous peoples. The resolution goes on to include a call for Unitarian Universalists to engage in truth and reconciliation processes. What would that look like for 21st century Unitarian Universalists? Part of our work of healing must include accountability for the Unitarian-run residential schools for Indigenous young people. I believe I've shared about that a little bit in the past. These were schools where young Indigenous folks were kept after being torn away from their families. These schools were designed to, quote, kill the Indian to save the man. This is part of our religious history. The so-called saving of Indigenous young people by destroying their culture was a 19th century Unitarian religious project. The Unitarian minister, Reverend Henry Bond, is quoted referring to young Crow people, they are all bright, promising boys. How such good appearing fellows come of an ignorant, lazy, squalid, orphaned race is a constant surprise to us. I shall dread the time, if that comes, that they slip back into their old abodes and possibly leave. That is part of our religious heritage. Reverend Bond and many Unitarians believed that they were doing the work of God as they separated young people from their communities. We just saw this debate happening again just months ago in the Supreme Court as a white family, along with the states of Texas, Indiana, and Louisiana, worked to overturn the Indian Child Welfare Act. Thankfully, the ICWA remained intact, but attacks on indigenous community sovereignty continue. We need to do more than just talk about this, though certainly that is a good place to start. If we are to truly live into our newly adopted eighth principle, then our anti-racist action must call us to an authentic relationship with those we have harmed and begin the work of reparation. The need for action is big, and it's hard to know where to start. I've been profoundly wrestling with an article that I've been reading. And it's a pretty significantly academic article, so I'm also just wrestling with the words a little bit. But it's entitled, "Decolonization is Not a Metaphor." The authors of this article, one indigenous, one settler, reflect together on the failures of decolonizing discourse to actually lead to actual decolonization for indigenous lives. It is now common to hear calls for decolonizing education, decolonizing music, decolonizing faith, and so on. It's mostly happening in academic settings, but it's spilled over to popular organizing efforts by both white folks and people of color. For many, the work of decolonization fits on a spectrum. There are symbolic acts of land recognition on one end, something we do here at 2U, and there are acts of truly giving land back to indigenous people, with many other opportunities for decolonization fitting in between. One of the challenges of reckoning with US colonialism is the necessary confrontation with the idea that the United States is a nation of immigrants. This is untrue in so many ways. First, there are indigenous peoples who are already here in what we call the United States today, when Europeans descended upon the land and continue to be here. Certainly, people brought to this country in chains on boats from the African continent were not immigrants, but coerced and tortured, kidnapped people forced to work to serve white property owners. As Eve Tuck and Kei Wang Yang demonstrate for their readers, most Europeans coming to this land have not actually been immigrants either, though that's a quite different story from those who ended up here in large part because of US foreign policy. When immigrants arrive in a new land, they traditionally assimilate to the indigenous culture. Most Europeans crossing the ocean to come to this new world were not considered immigrants, but rather settlers on the land. I talked last week about my Nana coming from Ireland on a boat in the 1950s, and I've always thought of her as an immigrant. She was fleeing economic hardship and a patriarchal father in Ireland to find new possibilities here. But what if I think of her as a working class settler? What does that even mean? How does that change my family story? Am I supposed to travel back to Ireland? Is that the most right thing to do to be accountable to indigenous peoples? I don't actually think it's that simple. In many ways, I think the assertion that all white folks must return to Europe is a way to refute decolonization efforts and let us off the hook for the hard work that's in front of us. Tuck and Yang write, directly and indirectly benefiting from the erasure and assimilation of indigenous peoples is a difficult reality for settlers to accept. The weight of this reality is uncomfortable. The misery of guilt makes one hurry towards a reprieve. Feeling guilty, not fun. We've discussed quite a number of times about how guilt is not an effective transformative motivator for change. Guilt can be immobilizing and allows us to be internally focused and seeking our own relief rather than take accountability and engage in the hard work of repair. Just like our faithful reflections on Yom Kippur and the nature of atonement, we must wrestle with what is hard and not focus so much on forgiveness, but rather change the current circumstances that maintain injustice. I've shared this quote from Audre Lorde before, and I think it's useful as well today. Guilt is not a response to anger, she writes. It is a response to one's own inaction or their own actions. If it leads to change, then it can be useful, since it's no longer guilt, but the beginning of knowledge. So for those of us with settler lineage and settler status today, how might we move from guilt to action? How might we be accountable and authentically engage in decolonizing projects? What might our faith call us to do? And what resources might we gain from our faith as we move this work forward? The authors of Decolonization is not a metaphor, asserts for readers that it is not the responsibility of the colonized to define what the settler must do to right the wrongs of the past realities and the present realities of colonization. Instead, like Frantz Fanon offers in his book, Wretched of the Earth, decolonization will be a chaotic process that is not clean and neat in breaking away from the colonial conditions. I cannot help but think about what's happening too in the Middle East. And so I return to our opening hymn. If we are not to build a land together, but instead return land, like our Methodist siblings did with the Wyandotte people, if justice cannot roll down like water so long as settler colonialism persists, maybe we need to write a new song. Or maybe we need a new definition of we. The struggle for justice will not be won without music. We will not decolonize without recognizing what has been stolen. And we must do more than sing. We must do more than acknowledge the stolen land we live upon. We need to support indigenous-led efforts to truly address the violence of colonization. We need our theology to shift and build a new theology that not only repudiates the doctrine of discovery, but celebrates indigenous sovereignty, including indigenous religion. This is a messy process, and we will make mistakes. Our responsibility is not to do it all right, but to do it in relationship. So may we have the strength to listen and act. And as we heard during our anthem this morning, may the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. Let it be so, and amen.
Please join me in singing our closing hymn, 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Hurry!